Welcome to a special Q&A episode where I'm going to answer some of the questions that you guys have sent in. This is really exciting, and I love this because you guys literally provide the content. So before I get started, I have got 6 questions that I'm going to support you with today. But I want to prompt you to reach out and send me any questions that you'd love to get me featuring on this podcast, okay, and on YouTube. So if you've got any questions, let me know. They're always welcome because they help me create more content for you guys. So I've taken 6 from some research that I've done and from a question that I have from one of our listeners. So thank you for sending that in. Always reach out on any of my social media at queenofbusinessorganisation.co.uk. Now that's my website, but at Queen of Business Organisation, and ask me your question, email them in, whatever you'd like to do, and I will add them to my Q&A list for my next Q&A. Now, I've got 6 very different questions. Well, some of them are tied in. I've got 6 questions today to support you with, so I'm really excited to dive into these. The first one is, any tips for blogging? So I am not an expert when it comes to blogging. However, I did do some research on it, and I'm quite proud of my blog. So yes, I have got some tips, and I will share them with you. So when you do a blog, you want to have a clear title that speaks out to something that your ideal client wants to click on. You kind of want it to be like 5 tips for how to do XYZ. Make it really clear what content you're sharing with the audience in the blog. Make this content something that your ideal client is going to say yes to and want to read. So that will be my first thing. My second thing is, make sure the blog has a purpose. So don't just have it sat there existing. You also want to make sure that this blog can take the audience somewhere. So when someone clicks on it and reads it, what's the next step? So think about how they can sign up to work with you, how they can get one of your freebies, or how you can capture them into your audience. The third one is to put any relevant links in there. So if in your blog it naturally comes up to talk about service, link it in. If it naturally comes up to talk about freebie, link it in. Because all of these links create backlinks, and that helps your other pages on your website get seen. And it's an amazing thing to do. And I guess my final tip for blogging is not just to blog and then just expect it to sit there and generate leads. Now it can, if you implement SEO, which again is another tip, which is search engine optimization. You can implement that, but that is not enough alone. It can take time for the SEO to kick in and start building traction. So I would make sure that you also have a visibility strategy for getting your blog seen. It cannot, with anything in business, it cannot just sit there and exist and make you money. So if you are blogging, make sure that you have put in place a plan to actually get it seen. Now, this is something I did last year when I first started blogging. I didn't share it enough, and I wasn't actually tracking stats on the pages to make sure they were getting views or that they were getting any results. So make sure you are tracking and making sure that you're seeing whether the pages are getting opened, getting clicked on, and what's actually happening, what's performing around that blog, so that you're making sure that you're not just doing it for the fun of it, it's actually generating results for your business. Because any time we put into something in our business, we want to make sure that's used productively and is going to get a result, because we are in business for business, not for a hobby. So those are my tips around blogging. My next question is a really interesting one that was sent to me on Instagram by one of my previous clients and followers, and she's amazing. She literally implements everything that I say, and it's just so good to see. It's such a breath of air. And she noticed something. I can tell that she's been watching me. She literally sent me a message saying, "I've been watching you for a while and I'm curious, why don't you use hashtags anymore?" And we had an interesting conversation around this. So if you follow me on Instagram, you will notice that now and again, I'll use hashtags, then I don't, then I do, then I don't. Now, some Instagram experts will do specific trainings on hashtags. And don't get me wrong, in my foundations program, I have a training all around hashtags and how to find hashtags and see which ones perform best for you, and hashtag research. And I actually have a hashtag planner as well, because I did do some learning around this and some research around this myself and started implementing it. And I have had a client in the past do this, and it actually got her more views and results. However, social media changes all the time, and hashtags are less relevant now than they were in the past. It's more about keywords. So the keywords you're using in your actual content. So this is on the screen. So like on the video, on the graphic, but also in your captions, in your hashtags, everywhere, the keywords are relevant. Any words that you're using. But secondary to that, the real reason I don't really use hashtags is because I know my ideal client and I don't believe that she's using them to find content to support her with her business. And this is because when I was growing my first business and I was looking for tips and tricks on, growing my business, I didn't find that in clicking on hashtags. I just didn't. And if you do, I'd be interested to know if you use hashtags for this purpose, but I didn't. So my ideal client is me, like years ago. My ideal client's me 3 years ago now. She was me before that, but she's now me 3 years ago. And she never did do that. The place that she did go to learn was specifically to a business mentor in that key area or to networking events. And I still do that now. I go to networking events, I learn from my mentor. It doesn't mean that you have to invest. You can go to free networking events. You can go follow people like me who share free content like this all of the time that you can then absorb, learn, implement, and get results from. I always say that you can get free results from my content alone free. I mean, you can get results from my free content alone. This has happened many times before, even with this client that asked this question. She no longer works with me, but she still follows me and she implements. And she has actually actively said that when she's ready to invest in a coach, she'll come to me because of my values and how much I align with her, which is amazing. Thank you. But also, I have had a lady who followed me for years. She was with a very different business coach and she followed me for years. She implemented what I taught in my free Facebook group, Business Growth Club, and she made sales from that. She is actually a client now in my Creative Business Academy, but she wasn't. Before when she started making money, she wasn't a client. She was just absorbing my free content. And that is how I believe my ideal clients come across me on social media. They end up on my email list. They connect with me. They might sign up for my free trainings or some of my free content like this, and they connect with me. And that is how I believe my client finds me. So I feel that using hashtags on my content is irrelevant. So I will leave that ball in your court and what you think about it. And it's probably an unpopular opinion compared to some of the experts around Instagram and what they are sharing. But if you look at what they're sharing as well, they are also talking about keywords and effectively, and that you don't need 30 hashtags anymore. Literally keep them relevant to your post. So yeah, there's my view on hashtags. I'm not a hashtag expert, but that is my opinion on them. My next question, how do I use my limited time in the best way? So this is often more about mindset than it is about strategy. So I'm going to talk about the mindset first, and I will give you some strategic actions that you can put in place. I talk about this all the time during my Simplicity series. So if you've not come across it, the Simplicity series is my 3-day series where we specifically work on time, productivity, and sales, because I truly believe that getting organized in business will help you make more money in sales. So I do that free series, and if you want to come and join the next round, you can go and sign up at any time on my website, and it's the Simplicity series. It will tell you when the next one's available. But basically, we talk about this, and I always like to look at it from both a mindset and practical point of view. So the mindset around time is, do you really have a limited time, or is that a story that you're telling yourself? So look at how you're spending your time currently, and the only way to look at that is to map it out, is to track it, but also think about what you need to prioritize. Have you been planning your time so that you know how much you're limited to? Have you planned out your days, your weeks, your months? What does that look like for you? And how do you feel around it? And why are those feelings come up? And I would like to invite you to say, what does time look like? What do you want that to look like for you as well? And how are you spending it so far? And what can you do to change that? So those are some really important questions to ask yourself around the mindset around time before we actually implement anything, because you can go and implement a schedule, a routine, and I can tell you how to do all those things. But if you don't first work on the mindset around time, practical steps are not going to work. So ask yourself, how can you better use your time? Are you using it most efficiently as possible? Are you being productive in the time that you set? And what can you do to change that? So the practical steps, I would say create a schedule. So create your dream schedule. How many hours? Like look at your diary. Like what have you got to fit in? Anything around the kids, the pets, you know, school runs, appointments like doctors, hospital, eye tests, dentists, things like that. Any essentials and non-negotiables that have to be put in, things like cooking, cleaning. Where are they, and how much time do you need to dedicate to them? And I say need because sometimes we overcommit. We spend more time worrying about what we're going to make for tea than actually making tea. We spend more time procrastinating on something than actually doing the thing. So where is that happening for you, and how can you plan your time better to manage that? So like plan all your non-negotiables in first, and then if you've got an employed job, plan that in. If you don't, think about what hours you can actually commit to your business. That's the first thing to do, and then look at how you can use those hours productively. So I always say the best way to use your time is prioritize your income producing activities first. So this is usually things that's going to make you money. So anything like content, you need to be visible and get seen. Anything to do with payment links or systems like that. Anything that's to do with getting paid, basically. Visibility, nurturing your audience and getting the sale are those things that you need to prioritize. Then the rest of the time is, you know, actually delivering to your clients. So whether you're making, whether you're serving, what does that look like? Any other things that you need to fit in, such as bookkeeping, such as do you do free consultation calls? Do you need to fit them in? Do you do guest speaking slots? Do you do networking? How much time can you actually leave free for all of those things to use your time in the best possible way for your business? The next question, how do I get out there so others are aware of what I'm offering? So there is loads of ways that you can get visible with your business, but it's about asking yourself, what ways do you feel will work well for you? Because I will just throw my head into everything. I will try anything. If I don't like it, I won't do it again. But you might already know things that are not for you. So if going live is not for you, then obviously that's not going to be something you put on the list. So I would start brainstorming the things that are going to get you seen. Now, there is many things you can do. Obviously, you can post posts on social media, but when you look at social media, that's a pillar in itself because there's so much you can do with social media these days that can get you visible so that people can see what you've got to sell. So the thing is, like, if we look at Facebook alone, you can brainstorm, how can I use Facebook to be visible? There is stories, there's posts, there's reels, there's live, there's groups, there's pages, there is what else? Probably missing something. There's loads you can do just on Facebook alone. So how can you brainstorm each of the platforms that you use and the elements that they have available to help you be visible would be the first starting point. And then I would branch out further than that. So how else can you be seen? Where is your ideal client so that you can go and reach out to them and get in front of them to then generate leads into your world so that people are seeing what you're selling. That is the first place to start, is looking at where your ideal client is. This is an interesting one which helps with business management and organisation, how to balance face-to-face work alongside managing business. So the lady that asked this was actually a clinical practitioner, and she sees clients face-to-face probably every day, at least 5 days a week, in person, so in an actual practice. So outside of that, she needed to manage her time for the other business tasks. And I think this means like content, bookkeeping, all of the important back-end stuff that you don't really see a business do. Now, it is literally as simple as setting your work hours for face-to-face clients, but then setting your hours for the business management side. So it might be that you take half a day out of working with clients to instead focus on the business management tasks, such as your bookkeeping, your content, your marketing plans, and things like that. Because otherwise, we're just getting into the cycle of continuously serving clients. So you might actually be really busy, but the back-end systems are not ready, which could mean that when tax returns due, you've not got it organised and ready, bookkeeping's not done, which means it takes longer. So it really helps with all of that if you have a dedicated time for the business management stuff. I've also come across a business owner in the past who also has a similar practice where she does face-to-face work and she's mobile and she travels around and she does what she does. She's a therapist, and She does the therapy, but what happens is she wants to take some of it online. And I understand why, because it caps your income only being able to work one-to-one, face-to-face with clients. So she wanted to do some online group therapy programs to sell passively so that she can support more people. And there's different ways you can do this. You can do this through downloadable like classes and resources. You could do it online sessions, which means you don't have to travel, and which saves time. You could do group sessions, so you're supporting multiple people at once. You can do memberships, so people can sign up and have a continuous subscription with you, which all help earn more money and scale your business. But what was happening is, and it's still happening now, I've known her for years, and it's still happening, is she's got that many face-to-face clients. She's prioritizing those, which is great. I would say prioritize your clients, but she's not then given herself, because she doesn't have the time to implement the stuff so she can get online launched. And this is happening because she's not dedicated the time to that one goal. So when you're finding yourself in this situation, it's about asking yourself, how important is this goal to you? How important is being more organized? How important is making more money, getting more clients in for you and your business? And the honest thing is that sometimes people think, oh, all I'm bothered about is money. That's really selfish. But actually, the more money you make, the more that you can do, the more people that you can support. So that is actually a blessing. So for me, do not worry about that, but look at your goal and how important that is to you, and use that as a kind of rocket up your bum to implement the time to do the thing that you want to do to achieve the goal that you want to achieve. The final question, I don't know where to start. What's your best advice? And what this lady was asking was actually just where to start with her business to get it started. So there's a couple of foundational things that I reckon you need to put in place. One of them is all the stuff around you and your brand and your marketing that you need to secure first before you do anything, because a lot of us don't do enough of this, and we do need to revisit it as well. So knowing, what your brand is all about, who you are, who you serve, why you're doing it, the benefits, the features, the bonuses, what your services look like, kind of the price points, all of that, have clarity around all of it, so then you can just deliver it for your ideal clients. So I would start there, knowing all of that stuff, then going into your branding. So like, what's your brand story? So what's the story behind your business? What's the message behind it? We'll take it even deeper. Have your colours, your fonts, and all those visual aspects, your logos ready to hand as well, so that you can implement everything I've just talked about into a marketing plan that you can be consistent with. So do all of that like basic groundwork first, and then implement that into a consistent plan that you can literally just show up and deliver. Okay, so that would be what my best advice would be, starting with that, and then implementing and learning more as you go along, and just taking it steady, because slow and steady wins the race. And I wish I'd have realised and gotten onto that. And do you know what? I did it slow and steady myself. I had the time where I practiced it as a hobby and I didn't take it really seriously, but then I didn't make any money, so it gave me the rocket up the bum. And I see this a lot, that people are not connected enough and aligned enough with the services that they're offering and their goals, and so it results in actually poor results or no results at all. So if you are in that place where you want to make a change, you want to make a difference, then it is about connecting with that goal and what you can potentially achieve if this business takes off, and then what you can actually implement and do to get to that point. And it all comes down to mindset. My business didn't take off until I started working on my mindset. Well, actually, I worked on my strategy first, but then I burned out really easily because I wasn't organised. So I worked on my mindset around that to get myself organised, to then get back onto being strategic but managing time a lot better, which then got me amazing results. So that would be where I'd recommend to start. So I hope these tips have been very useful. So we've talked about blogging, we've talked about hashtags on Instagram, talked about time and limitations, we've talked about visibility and how you can be seen, we've talked about balancing face-to-face work and business management, and we've talked about what's the best advice that I can give for starting up your business. So I hope all of that's been useful. As always, pop me questions over on social media or email me, and I will be happy to support you in getting those questions answered here in future episodes. Thank you for joining me in this episode. I'll see you again next time.